Okay, let's go ahead and get into the stock market technical analysis. We're going to go through the broad markets and especially tech, and then mostly wrap up after that. So really quick video. If you guys are finding value, please drop me a thumbs up. If you're interested in getting additional trade insights, I've been talking to the private member group through additional charts and commentary all morning and basically outlining where I think the market's going. So they know in advance. And so let's get into it. Link in the description below on that private member group. Triple Qs. Okay, so Triple Qs, obviously on this, we're looking at an hourly chart where we've been range bound for a little bit because again, we've got the Fed and we've got the other large cap tech stocks, and we had the Amazon or Microsoft actually report earnings after the bell. So there's your support resistance here, or breaking out as of now. We've got a few more minutes to go to see if we actually do break out, but it looks like there's going to be a breakout. And then that breakout should very likely carry us up to this gap. You can see this gap right here. We have gap entry and gap fill. So those will both be two overhead targets. You're likely going to get a pullback or a reaction at this gap entry. And then, you obviously have the gap fill. So it's hard to say whether we're going to go all the way to this upper target here because we have the Fed coming out in a few hours. I think we could easily hit this first target, and then the Fed comes out, and then potentially that would be it. We would potentially start to sell down. So it's objective to short at this gap entry. And then, you could stop out if we ramp up to you could even stop out and flip long if we look to ramp to this next target. That's probably my max target right there, that 480.34 max bounce target before the next leg lower. Again, going over to the daily chart on this one. On the daily, this upper trend line, this trend line here on the daily has been broken. So it's sell the rip, all right, on the larger time frame. So we can rally in the short term, but likely trending lower. Okay, break down, rally up, continue lower. I think we're heading down to this 449.80 for the next kind of swing target. Good support down there. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think this 473.80 is probably as far as we bounce, with that 480 being the max. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the components of the triple Qs. Biggest one, I think, being NVIDIA. Even though Microsoft did report, NVIDIA is really the momentum. People are watching that for momentum. So NVIDIA, I've got this downtrend line right here on the hourly chart. Resistance, resistance. I think we can bounce up to there. And we would, that's likely the max bounce for NVIDIA. It's about 117-ish. Maybe they pop it just briefly intra-hour, but ultimately I think that holds and we get that next leg lower. This is the hourly chart. So let's flip over to the daily chart, show you how I think this is going to go. You can see here on the daily, if I roll out and look at larger time frame, here's your lows coming off October 2022. And basically the lows there are, they haven't been tagged yet. As I zoom in, you can see lots of tags of support. So I think we're going to, a little bit more upside, maybe up to that 117, 116.85. You want to step in a little early, and then we get that next move down to that major trend line. All right, that's major daily support. So down there, it would be, objective to maybe go long, because that would be that major support. Also on NVIDIA on the daily chart, you can see that the overhead resistance, we had some cluster right there, tag right there, cluster right there. So there's good resistance up there at that 117 plus the downtrend line resistance. I do expect this to sell off once we hit that. Moving on, obviously Microsoft reported earnings, and you can see they were down pre or after hours. They were somewhere way down here around 394.30. But again, that's after market stuff. You really need to wait till the market opens to get a good read on where a stock's going to go. Just because something is moving in the after hours is very thinly traded, and technically you don't usually have a lot of liquidity and big institutions taking positions or moving money around in the after hours. So You don't read into the after hours as much. And again, the other thing is pretty good support here on the daily. You could see it was support. So when I saw that it was way down here, I expected that that was going to be just a quick move. I didn't really put anything out on it thinking it was going to really be meaningful, because it was likely we're going to at least at a minimum hold 397 support. And then I believed we were probably going to see a rally. So, again, and then pre-market, they bid it up. So it did rally already. Now, where does this go? It can hold here. I think it's probably broken, and we're going to continue to sell down, although maybe hold here for a little bit. I do believe this is probably going to continue lower, to trend lower, down to the 200-day and down to this 397 as the next target on the downside. Amazon, you have resistance. I've got it all a big messy chart, but resistance right there at about it's about 189.30. Looks like we're going to rally up to that and probably tag that today. So that's resistance. That's the objective area to short, and I do believe that should hold. Meta, you've got resistance right about 479.50 with a gap also to fill potentially at 488. So either one of those will likely hold as resistance for that one. Apple has an uptrend line. Apple still has to report earnings, I think, on Thursday. So you can see here, there's your uptrend line on Apple. Trend's broken and they're back. It looks like they're going to run up and back test this. So I suspect that the Apple will be the next push down. Earnings will come out negative for Apple. So they could back test for a while and then earnings comes out negative and then they reject. So that's what I'd be looking for on that one. It would be an objective short on the back test right there. And Tesla, although I don't think it's that consequential, maybe it just maybe a little push right up into this 241.80 before pushing back down. There's a trend line, potential trend line, because I only have 1 data point and 2 data points, so I think it's going to push down to this 200-day and hit this and maybe make a trend line and then continue lower, most likely. Gold miners, they're rallying today back to resistance. So this one, the trend line comes on the weekly chart. If I look at the weekly and I roll out, you can see this downtrend line right there. Lots of tags of resistance. And again, we're still there at resistance. So no breakout. Now, if we do break out, and especially on the weekly chart, you break out and get a strong push up. And maybe that happens because obviously the Fed, very interest rate focused, and gold trades to that. Then that would be a weekly buy signal, a longer term buy signal out of this big wedge. All right, we've been in a big isometrical triangle. So a breakout would likely, see, probably a push up to this 67 area, the highs on GDX on that weekly chart. But until the week's over, which we won't know until Friday, then as of right now, it's at resistance. Okay, so go back to triple Qs. You can see if I go back down to the really the daily and the hourly chart. Here's the 1 hour. You can see we're breaking out. So obviously, I think it's very likely heading up to that 473.80, and then it'll probably hold or go into a holding pattern, and then the Fed will come out. So lots of volatility probably at that point. From here, I could easily see maybe a pushback down. This will be support at that point. It could be a swift move down right after the Fed, and then maybe the buyers step in and maybe a push up there. That's not really the way I'm leaning. I think this is probably the highs up here, and then we start to sell down after the Fed. I don't know if we'll get the sell down until after Apple. It could just hold here, or maybe run down to support, which would be about the 6 or 468 area, and then Apple. Okay, that's all I got. If you're interested in the private member group, feel free to join up. $5 a month. Check it out. Putting out lots of charts and additional trade and market commentary. And I will catch you.